This video is brought to you by
Auckland Photographer's Clothing.
In this lesson, I will explain you all the buttons on your camera, what buttons are useful, what buttons I don't use that much, what different modes we have in the camera, and so on. We start here on top, and there is the on and off wheel here with this camera. Depending on what camera you use, it might be almost the same. Sometimes it's on another position, but this is very important to turn on the camera, of course, and to turn it off as well. Then in the middle of it is the shutter. And this is, I would say, next to the on and off, the most important button, because with this you take the image. And it works like this. Halfway through is always focus, and all the way through is to take the photo. And again, halfway through and all the way through. And when it's not working, when you press halfway through and then all the way through and it does not take an image, then usually it is because it's not focused or it cannot focus. Sometimes it's because you have the lens cap on and it's just black and the camera cannot see anything and cannot focus. And sometimes it's because it's not able to focus because of various reasons, but usually that's the reason why you cannot take the photo. So whenever you have wondered why you cannot take the photo, it's mainly because it cannot focus. Next to it is the C1 button, and C usually means custom. And that means that you can put whatever setting you want on this button. And it is super helpful. Some cameras even have 3 or 4 custom buttons, and then a photographer or videographer can program whatever setting he or she wants on this button. And I will tell you in this course what I have here on this button and what I would recommend you to put on this button here as well, especially next here to the shutter button. Then some cameras here in the front have a little wheel, and this is usually either shutter speed or aperture, depending on what camera or brand you are using. Here with this camera, for example, we have it. Here on the front is that wheel, and then the other wheel here on the back. And this is how you actually operate your camera. So you can change camera settings very fast here with your thumb and with your index finger. And also with one hand and not looking. So I could use it like this. But with this camera here, we don't have that wheel like we have it here with a Pro camera. But we have another wheel here on the back, which then can do the same. In my case here, it is now shutter speed. With the Pro camera, we have here an exposure compensation, it's called. With a -3, +3, we can turn it to wherever we want to. And some photographers make a huge mistake and they change it by accident. And then they go in an auto mode like ISO auto or maybe another auto mode, which I will explain later. And then every image is wrong exposed because this setting is wrong. So this, when you have it, this wheel should always be on 0. Or when it's not on 0, it should be on purpose on another number, but not by accident, because this is a huge mistake. And here with the entry-level camera, we don't have that wheel. We have a wheel here, but it has a different function. Here it is my aperture. Some cameras have that, some cameras don't. In general, everything that I explain now here is with those cameras that I have here. You may have total different buttons as well. Then the only option is to look in your manual. Then we go all the way here to the back, and there we have different wheels and buttons as well. We start here on the left side and have a little wheel next to the viewfinder. Here with the entry-level camera it looks like this. Here on the Pro camera it looks a little different. It's only halfway visible, but it's a very important wheel. And many photographers don't know that this wheel even exists. It's so important. This wheel is for your diopters, or for your eyesight, you can say. So when you wear glasses or have a bad eyesight, then you should definitely turn that wheel. And maybe you also did it by accident, just turned on it because you were playing around with your camera when you just bought it, and then it's set wrong. So what I would recommend you, everyone watching this course right now or this video here, look through your viewfinder and then turn that little wheel with your index fingernail and turn it until you see everything crisp sharp. And I mean with everything, all the numbers you see there, and especially the lower part of the image, left, right, everything should be in focus. When it's blurry, then it's set wrong. And then you have to adjust it. because otherwise you can never tell if your image is blurry or not, because everything is blurry all the time. And I did a lot of workshops, and I had some workshop students of mine who came to me and said, I don't know, every image is blurry. And I looked through the viewfinder, and guess what the problem was? It was that little wheel turned wrong. So very simple to fix, but very effective. Next here on this camera is the flash. Flash, very easy, click it, flash comes out. With most entry-level cameras you have a flash. With most professional cameras you don't have a flash. I don't know why. Maybe the manufacturers say pros don't need a flash. I sometimes would like to have a flash, but yeah, it's not there. Maybe it's because of weather sealing, I don't know. But those cameras, for example, you can use an external flash, but it has no built-in flash. Then you have the menu button, and menu brings you, as the button says, to the menu. And there you can set everything. Some menus are very easy to understand, other menus are a little bit more complicated. You get used to it, and whatever you want to adjust, you usually find in the menu. Then next to it, we have the AEL button.
Before we continue with this lesson, let's take a quick look at the sponsor of today's video, who's making this lesson available to you for free.
You want to take photos in pouring rain or bitter cold? Easy for me, because of the best jacket system for outdoor photographers. My name is Benjamin Jaworskyj, professional photographer for over 12 years. And this is my signature edition of the Hawkland 7-in-1 Parker Pro jacket set for photographers. When I'm outdoors, I want to focus on what's truly important. I want to feel comfortable, warm, dry, and always be ready to take the photo I have in mind, no matter how bad the weather. One set, 3 jacket layers you can wear in 7 ways, made for professional use. Check it out for your adventures. Maybe you also like the photography backpack, winter gloves, or classic jacket system. At www.hawkland.us. Hawkland. Photographer's clothing.
Then next to it we have the AEL button, and that means auto exposure lock. This is very useful when you use an automatic mode or semi-automatic mode like S or A. I will explain all those modes later in detail, and it works like this. Whenever the auto mode has a good exposure, which can happen by accident in the auto mode, no, you have a very good exposure, then you can just lock it and go to another position and take the exact same photo with the same settings and just locked it. With a smartphone it works when you tap on the screen and just hold it, then it gets locked. Exposure lock. Yeah, it's a useful button when you use auto modes. I never use this button because I never use auto modes, but you can use it. Then you have the FN button, and FN with Sony cameras means function, and it gives you a quick menu, you can say. You have the very detailed menu when you click on menu, and you have a quick menu with only the most important things, and you can also program it in the way you want it, so you only have the different things you want in your quick menu that are useful for you. But for a beginner, I would just leave it as it is. Don't make too much adjustments. Maybe you don't find anything then. Just leave it as it is. But with FN, you can access everything that is important. With some other camera brands, it may be Q for quick, or I for info, or sometimes even info for info. Depending on what brand you are using, you will find it. Then I have that little dial wheel here, and it has a double function with this camera. With some other cameras it's a little different, but here I can press that dial wheel and I can turn that dial wheel. And I also use it for the menu navigation. So when I press it now on DISP, it gives me different display options. So it brings me stuff in my display or out of my display. I have an overview, for example, of all my camera settings and adjustments I made, and I can see a very clean image. Sometimes I can bring in a histogram or a leveler or whatever is possible in your camera. Just click it and then you will get some information for your display. ISO button brings you in the ISO settings. With some cameras you don't have an extra ISO button but can just turn the wheel, and this is then ISO. With some cameras you have to press another ISO button and then turn a wheel, depending on what camera brand you are using. but in general, where ISO is written, just press it and then you find ISO settings. Then on the bottom you find that plus minus in the square, and this means exposure compensation, and we will use it later in this video course in detail. And this is the exact same that I just taught you here on this camera already, with the -2, 0, +2 and so on. With this camera you can adjust it here, and with this camera you have to press it down here and then can adjust it. And then on the left side here at 9 o'clock we find the different drive modes for self-timer, for burst mode and for single shot. I will have a whole lesson about this button here in this video course. And then most important, in the middle is the OK button, you can say. So whenever you want to press OK to accept something, you press the middle button here. And here on this camera it is the same. Okay, and then we can turn here with this entry-level camera, this whole dial wheel, and this changes shutter speed. With some other cameras you have that exact dial wheel as well, but it is then aperture. But in general it is something on your camera for the main settings. Then you have that little play button and it shows you your pictures. So when you took a photo, just press that button, then you can look through your images, and then you can also delete your image by just click on the play button and then on the trash bin to delete your image. But I would not recommend you to delete that many images, because maybe on accident you delete the wrong one. One last button here with this camera. Here on the side, that red button, red usually means record for video mode. So when you press it here on this camera, you can record video. We have the same here with this camera, but on another position. We have here on this camera extra a C3 button, which is also a custom button you can program. And then we have one joystick here with a Pro camera, and this is to adjust where you want to focus. So when you have a spot where you want to focus on, you can move that spot around in the image with this joystick. Very helpful. I will teach you that later. Then we have this little slider here with a Pro camera, and this opens the compartment for the SD cards. And then here on this camera we don't have anything else. Only on the bottom we have SD card and battery all in one. And here with this camera on the bottom we only have the battery. Then here on the left side we have all the different plugs or possibilities to put something in. Here for example we can put an external microphone in, or some charging, or some HDMI cable. And those are actually the most important buttons of your camera. Here in the front is another button. I used it already. When you click it and then turn your lens, you can change your lens, and the opposite way around. You don't have to press it, then it just locks automatically. You can put the lens back on. Those are all the buttons that are useful on a camera and that most of the cameras have. And then here on the top we have that mode wheel. I will explain you what those symbols mean, but not in detail in this course. So video stands for video, obviously, but this is a photography course, not a video class. S and Q is also for video. It's slow motion and time lapse. Then you have a panorama function. Then you can choose scenes, which the camera then can set different scenes, but it's an auto mode that you actually also have in auto. And then you have MR, which is a memory function that you don't need. The most important are M, S, A, and P. And for all those four, we have a lesson here in this course. So your exercise for today is to check out your own camera. Look at your camera, look at the buttons, press the buttons, see what the buttons do, and look if you set this diopter thing here right. This here next to the viewfinder is the sensor for the viewfinder. So whenever you put something here in front, the screen in here, this is only for mirrorless cameras important, the screen in here activates. So whenever this is dirty, like from a fingerprint or just dust or something, it can be that you don't see anything here on the back. So whenever you have that you don't see anything here, try to look through here and then maybe it's working and this thing here is just dirty. Okay, see you in the next lesson, and I'm looking forward what camera you are using and if you have all the buttons I just explained here.
Did you like this free lesson from my course? then please click thumbs up. And write me in the comments which camera button do you think is the most underrated. The complete 4-hour Simply Learn Photography course is available now on my website www.learnfromben.com. There you can download the full course immediately, watch it at your own pace, and start bringing your photography on a new level. Or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, because over the next 2 years there will be a free lesson from the course every month on this channel with sponsored advertisements. So everyone can access my photography knowledge long-term regardless of the budget and learn the coolest hobby in the world. Subscribe to the channel now. Every Saturday at 9 AM you can watch a new video about photography, and if you want the full course now, go to www.learnfromben.com and download the complete 4-hour XXL course and many other courses immediately. My name is Benjamin Jaworskyj, thank you for watching, and I wish you some amazing photos.